that if a man and a family goes to church, it's significantly more likely that the children will. If men don't go to church, it's not as likely that the children will continue. We have a responsibility to be witnessed and to be used by God. They can do it better. I thought that's another one. How many of you have people in your church who always do stuff, and it's really easy to say, well, they have so many gifts. I'll let them do it. Martin Luther King Jr. said the first question which the priest and the Levite asked was, if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? But the Good Samaritan reversed the question. If I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? You never know when you're the last person someone will be able to see that can actually offer. I will talk later and I'll be share some stories of times where all of a sudden you felt like an open door opened and I had a chance to serve. And I realized there's nobody else there. I could hope that somebody else did it, but the opportunity to serve is one of those challenges. I like the final work that Paul did was writing to Timothy. I mean, Timothy was a young man. Some they say he was 17, 18 years old. And he was writing to him almost as a handoff to his ministry of this man's going to be serving in my place. And in 2 Timothy 1:7, for God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power and love and self-discipline. Sometimes we think, well, if I'm going to be the center of attraction, if I end up providing the service. If you're doing it to God's glory and you're letting your light shine, then it's God that's going to get the glory in the long run. But at the same time, we're Christ in the world. So as a result of that, God doesn't create junk. I think most of us are far more critical of ourselves than any other person would be. You say things to yourself, if you said to another person, they would be in trouble. Think about it for a minute. Religious principles. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Could you imagine the trouble your neighbors would be in? God, that was stupid. It reminds me of the time you did that one. We're going to store that so you can feel bad later. Ultimately, if God has created us, then to be aware of the fact that we have gifts and to proudly use it in His name to glorify Him is one of the great opportunities we have. So when somebody says they can do it better, no. It's here, it's me, I'm called to present and to do this, so use me. And trust the fact that God will give us the words. One that certainly fits in with the political side, the government's going to do it. We've given money, they're going to take care of things. I work with a program called Uplift, and I love the program because it's basically designed for those people who are on the edge. They've got a job, they've got a place to live. But they aren't able to break out of it. They're one paycheck away from just not making it. And Uplift is a program that is designed within social services, works it here in the Thousand Oaks area. It's designed to help people break the chain of poverty where they actually start to come together, to start their own businesses, to do other kinds of things that allow them to be far more effective. And for me, it's one of the greatest gifts that there is. And what we are running into is the fact that people who are trying to break the chain of poverty have a problem, and that is the government. Because they all of a sudden, if they start to make more money, their actual take-home pay goes down. I had a woman that I have been working with, and she's in the process of starting her own apprenticeship program, and she's got offices now, she's got training, she's getting backing from Great Clips and some of the things that she's doing in hairstylists and barbering. But in the process of doing that, the first raise she got, she had to report the fact that she had the raise, and as a result of that, she ended up having less take-home to pay for her rent and everything that she had to do. They call it the cliff effect. One of the things that I think we all ought to come together, I don't care what our political framework is. Communities are where most of the caring occurs. Our churches, our community programs. And there's a face to it. When you receive money, it's impersonal. When you have somebody walking alongside you and working with somebody, I get to know somebody. I get to know I'm not alone. I strongly believe that a lot of people in our society, we live with, how many millions of people here in Southern California, but most of it just we walk by them. And a lot of those people have needs. So the real challenge becomes, instead of letting or thinking that the government will do it, I put myself in a place as if this person comes before me. James 2, 15 to 17. Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. And if one of you says to him, "Go, I wish you well, keep warm and well fed," but does nothing about his physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, it is not accompanied by action, is dead. I mean, we're called to get away from pewitis. I call it pewitis. We sit in pews. But the real action, there ought to be a break outside that flows out of our churches and make sure that we're involved in every community association we can have. Lately, I've been trying to tell people, instead of having separate work projects, we ought to be working within the community and identifying ourselves as Christians. If we're working for our Lord and that it's visible. And then all of a sudden you're working alongside people that don't even know, my gosh, we're Christians and we're doing this because of our faith. You don't have to pound it in, but I think it's important that we take the opportunity to not let the government do it. Sure, government has its place, but it's the communities where we really impact the hearts and minds of people and we bring people in. It's the church's job, and it's probably the pastor's. That's one of the common things that we think about. We think pastors have plenty of time and they don't do anything. The more you work with your pastor, the more you realize how much their life is involved in so many different things. And I think the real challenge becomes that priesthood of believers. If you really honestly believe, Luther, I went to seminary, and when I went to seminary, there was a real problem. Because I began to realize that in seminary, you try and have so much more of an understanding with God, you can actually believe that you're starting to control the very things you're studying. And you start to think, is my faith dependent on how much knowledge I have and how much theology I have? Or is it a simple faith? I actually said in my graduation at Fuller, I said seminary did more to destroy my faith than anything that I had. It was not popular. And I had one of my professors come up to me and says, "Tell me about it." And I said, there is so much conflict between the psychology and the theology here at the school. We ended up being the battleground. And the real challenge was, everybody was trying to say that they had control, they had the right view of God, and yet very few of us were praying for how we could be used and how can we be worked. I want a simple faith. I think that the thing that calls me, I know I'm called to be used by God, and if that means that I work in concert with the pastor, because I strongly believe you never know when you're going to be called to do something. I'm a speaker, as I've already mentioned, and I had a co-worker. He had AIDS. He spoke on change trends, and I spoke on managing and dealing with change. We did programs together. He got AIDS. And he passed away, Hank Kane. Good man. But when he asked his priest to come and give him last rites, he didn't come. And he called me and he said, "I know you have a faith. Will you come? I need to talk." And I said, "Well, I'm not Catholic, but I am Catholic light. I'll be glad to come and pray with you." And it was one of the more meaningful times I'd ever had with a person, because the need was there. What kind of service comes? You see, I believe our churches, every single one of us depend upon us, and no matter where we are. When God puts something in front of you to do, we don't call a pastor. We get busy doing it. Will this guy use my money? Will he use what I've done? There is that challenge. How many of you have been asked before for money and you go, "I don't know." And with so many people asking you for money, you start going, "I don't know." I was at an airport and this guy dressed well, said, I have no money, I can't get home, I've got to struggle, and I'll pay you back. And I kept thinking, well, if it's there and I don't do something, I had the money. And I finally did something Benjamin Franklin did. Benjamin Franklin never wanted anything paid back. That was his policy. He would give money. And he would say, "I don't want it back because I don't want to know if you don't give it to me." He said, basically what I want is I want you to remember this was given to you so that you pass it forward and you give it to somebody else when the right moment comes out. And so I remembered what Franklin said. So I said to the guy, give me $20, and I says, I don't want you to take my card. I don't want you to mail it to me. But there'll come a time you need to give $20 to somebody and do it. And then I left and realized I don't care whether at least I don't know whether it happened. But we're called to do it. Where are you called? For I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me water. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. Naked and you clothed me. And in prison you visited me. The righteous will act. When did you see me hungry and feed you? When you did it to the least of these, my brothers, you were doing it to me. I mean, remember the old do as Jesus did. What was the phrase? What would Jesus do, right? Yeah, what would Jesus do? And I thought about it, and when I read that verse, I said, what if we changed it around and said, what if it was Jesus you were helping? I mean, that's what he's saying here. He's saying that when you're doing it to anyone, you're doing it to me. And I think, what would you do for the man who died for you on the cross and gave you life?